Niall Lawrence Stample and the Florida State Seminoles. Niall, always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Go Noles.
Thank you for NLS Cleaning. Power washed my driveway, sidewalk, all the way up to the front doorstep. I ate off it last night.
Yeah. It got cleaned up nice, man. The HOA is a stickler, so we do a lot of those. So we're happy we got your place cleaned up.
Yeah, if you're dealing with the HOA out there and that mafia, okay, just give our friend here, NLS Cleaning, a call. That, of course, is now Lawrence Stample. Won a national championship with Florida State. Also played defensive tackle for the Cleveland Browns. All right, an off week for Florida State, but they are, they move up anyway. They move up a few spots. Florida State will take on Kent State this weekend. They're now ranked 7th in the Associated Press.
Yeah, which is great. We love to be able to move up and kind of, you wouldn't want to move up too quickly, too high. We want to make sure we're staying grounded and staying kind of firm on the ground, because it's one of those things where you get kind of too floaty and too kind of arrogant and too cocky. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy kind of where we are. I think that's a good spot for us to be and be able to continue to build on.
Usually when you have a bye, it's a big-time opponent who's waiting. That's not the case. This is Kent State. Just your overall thought on 14 days and then taking on an opponent that you're favored by 44 points.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. And then obviously you don't want to kind of skip over them and start kind of installing other things for other teams as far as Virginia. But I do think it does play a really big test on the development of our younger team, which the depth was obviously a question. So I think it kind of continues to kind of perpetuate this climb that we are watching and we are seeing happen. And I think one, I like that we're going into Kent State after a bye just because we got to see what our young guys did, but also it kind of creates a little momentum going into the second half of the season.
Yeah, and, attrition has been a problem as well. I mean, Randy Pittman is not on the depth chart, therefore – he's not going to play this weekend. Roydale Williams as well. You don't know if they'll be around for a week from Friday against Virginia. Then, of course, Miami does come in. So you're missing key players right now, both on offense and on defense. You build depth. Also, Niall, it gets to the point where you guys better be ready, because if they're not back, not only are we building depth here, but you are going to be a big part of the game plan pushing forward.
Yeah, agreed. So what you love is obviously we're building depth, but at the same time, when those guys come back, now we're really in it, right? Mm-hmm. So having some of those injuries and having some of those like little dings and bruises, I think allows opportunity for young guys to be able to step up. And then now us having these games to where we can really see what it is that we have create so much more value. So I think the injuries kind of suck, but it also, there's a little bit of silver lining there.
Yeah, we talk about installation a lot here, covering the Jaguars, and at what point during camp do you install more and more? College is different, where it's not a full-time occupation, if you will. Can you add wrinkles in now, both offensively and defensively, compared to what you did in training camp, considering you had this extra week?
Yeah, and that's what you love about having someone like Gus as your offensive coordinator, because he has built things into camp that aren't necessarily wrinkles, but they're going to be small little intricate details as far as, instead of us having this guy pull to the right side, we're going to actually have him delay and have him come back to the left side. So it's very small things that we're going to add in that can create a really big impact, especially when it comes to these analysts that are watching these games. We're going to come into Kent State, possibly even do 6 or 7 plays that we have absolutely no plans on running, but it is going to give those analysts a hard time in order to try to decipher what's coming next.
Talking with Florida State, our Florida State analyst, he, of course, is now Lawrence Stample, who won a national title with FSU, also a business owner right here in Jacksonville. I refer to it often because it really changed the complexion of the program. But you go back to Northern Alabama again a couple of years ago. Before you knew it, they were down 13-0. Just the importance of them coming out and being focused like they were a couple of weeks ago against East Texas A&M. You want your starters to do theirs, get their rep, but you want to get them out of there healthy. Starting quickly against a lesser opponent doesn't always come out that way. For Noles fans, hopefully that's the case for them on Saturday.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big test to the leadership because Norvell can only do so much. So it's going to be a big test to the leadership. Can we come out with tempo? Can we come out and execute and look crisp like we did going out into Alabama? Just because everyone was extremely focused, just like you said. So what are the mindsets going to be coming into this game? Can we play a Kent State after a bye week prior to playing East Texas A&M with the same urgency and dog that we saw versus Alabama? It is going to pay dividends, and it's going to show what it is as far as what our leadership is concerned, because those guys are going to have to make sure over hell or high water we are ready to go versus Miami as well as Virginia. They're a big opponent as well.
Well, there's no doubt. And I was reading today about we had 2 firings over the weekend with Deshaun Watson at UCLA. Then you look at the situation at Virginia Tech in their firing. Tony Elliott is right behind Napier, and Mike Gundy is like the 3rd coach who could be fired. So you nailed it. I mean, in 2 Fridays, that game for Virginia, not only are they playing for their coach, they're playing for, the overall feeling of what that program is and where it can be. That is going to be a huge road test for Florida State.
And I love it, especially coming after these 2 games, coming in and starting to build some momentum. It's going to be a test. Guys are going to be tested mentally, physically, emotionally, especially going out of our comfort zone for the first time. So I love everything about this Virginia game, especially being an opponent that we should be able to handle, even if there's adversity. So I love being able to see this kind of climb, right? This climb is there. And I think it was built perfectly in order for us to do that and make sure that guys can trust each other. When you buy in, you have to know that the guy next to you is doing their job so that way I can focus on mine.
When I started covering Florida State after I was a student there, the one thing that was so consistent under Bobby Bowden is he was able to keep his coaches forever. Okay, Wayne McDuffie, then Brad Scott left. I think he took John Eason with him. Might have taken Mark Salva with him. But for the most part, then it became Mark Richt. And defensively, it was always Mickey Andrews. But as you know, Coach Amato was there. He had Jimmy Higgins on the offensive line. He had that nucleus that was set. Here, Florida State fans are enjoying the fact that they get the huge upset. They're 2-0, and all of a sudden UCLA opens up, and before you know it now, Tony White, who's an alumni, he's an alumnus of UCLA, is one of the front runners being mentioned to take that Bruins job.
Yeah, it's one thing to be mentioned. It's another one for it to actually make sense for Tony White. I think he has a lot left to prove in order for him to get the position that it is that he genuinely wants, because it may be an opportunity, but is it the opportunity for him? He seems very meticulous when it comes to breaking down his defense and his game plans and how he runs things. I think he wants the best fit more or less than just the first opportunity that comes a knocking. So though I think he is going to, and he's gunning for a head coaching job, I think that's something that's going to come sooner than later, unfortunately for the Noles. I don't know if this is the fit that he's looking for.
No, you won your national title in that Rose Bowl and in 2013. I happened to be at that game as well. It's an hour away from campus. It's an old stadium. It's got so much history. It almost reminds me of the old Orange Bowl to some extent. But the fans have had it. They're struggling with the NIL. They're struggling to recruit. And they're in the Big Ten. This is not a great job right now, UCLA.
No, it's not. And if you're going to take your first head coaching job, though I think being able to get your foot in the door is great in any capacity, I think right now when you have an opportunity to be able to go and continue to kind of pad that resume, it's kind of hard to say, you know what, let's go ahead and wait and let me see an opportunity that's more ideal for me so that way I can continue to kind of ascend through this coaching resume that I've been able to build instead of being able to possibly be halted going into something that's not great.
I'd like to see John Gruden get that job, so he's not mentioned for the one at the University of Florida, which could open up. We'll get to Clemson here in 1 second. But some good news. Ethan Pritchard, unfortunately, shot a few weeks ago. A bizarre situation. 4 suspects have been arrested, but Mike Norvell met with him on Sunday, and Ethan Pritchard, for the first time, opened his eyes.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see, amazing to hear. Everyone was really obviously worried about it, and it's one thing to be able to like leave and go home and do certain things of that nature, but it's really tragic to hear when stuff like that happens, especially somewhere where you have close and dear to your heart. But it puts things in perspective. It puts things in perspective for everyone, for the organization, for the players, that this life is finite, right? It is not guaranteed. It's not. So every day you wake up, these players have to kind of feel that, digest that, especially with a teammate that is so close to them. Yeah. So I'm really happy to hear the progress that he has. It looks like he still has a long road to go, but I'm very happy that things are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, myself as well, and I think just about everyone out there feels the same way about Ethan Pritchard, who was shot in the head. If you don't know what I'm talking about here, what we're talking about, that happened about 3 weeks to a month ago. All right, let's wrap up with Clemson. They let one get away. I mean, they're a good team, but they lost at home at LSU, and Georgia Tech's always nasty, but they got involved in a battle there, and they came up short in overtime. Your thoughts on Dabo Swinney and Clemson?
Yeah, it's crazy because I feel like the shoe's on the other foot now. And I think last year it was very big on the narrative of, oh, Dabo is not really using the portal, not really transferring guys. It's not what it is that he's looking for. And we kind of had that issue, obviously, with a different quarterback and whatnot. But it's one thing to not necessarily want to do the portal, but it seems like he's not really bought in with NIL as a whole. NIL is not going anywhere. It is here to stay. So it's like, what I would like to see, and what it seems like it's happened, is Florida State had an effort issue last year, but this year things have changed. What has changed for us other than us transferring over some guys? NIL is still very much alive and well. I think it's when you buy into what's going on with NIL and you truly help these players figure out how to utilize it in the best shape possible, attitude reflects leadership. So if Dabo is not really bought in, it's going to trickle down the line. And it may not be very apparent, but it seems like it's something that may be causing an issue. So if I'm coming in and my biggest focus is making sure that I can preserve as much money as possible while I'm playing college football, and that's not your biggest focus, we may have some issues on the field going forward.
Interesting. I like it. He is Niall Lawrence Stample. He is our Florida State analyst. He is also a owner and operator of NLS Cleaning, which did power wash my driveway and front door and sidewalk just the other day. Tell us about NLS Cleaning.
Yes, sir. NLS Cleaning we're continuing to thrive. We work with a lot of franchise owners. We work with a lot of business owners. We do work with a lot of property managers that do industrial real estate, residential real estate. But we come in and we clean their properties as far as their exteriors are concerned. We pressure wash, we window clean. We go up to about 7 stories, so we can really facilitate anything that is needed. You can reach out to us at nlscleaning.net. You could also call us at 904-708-8802. And reach out. We would love to get your place cleaned up if you're having a big party for a game or something like that, or just to make sure your business is looking in top-notch shape.
Thanks, Niall.
Yes, thank you, Rick.
There he goes, Niall Lawrence Stample. He is our Florida State analyst.